The Grand Assembly Hall stretched so far that Thomas Blake could barely see the opposite wall. 17,000 species had representatives here. The ceiling was made of crystal that showed the stars beyond. Below him, arranged in circles that went down and down like a massive arena, sat aliens of every imaginable type. Some were clouds of gas contained in energy fields. Others were giant insects. Some looked almost human, but with skin that glowed. And all of them were staring at him. Thomas stood on a raised platform in the center. It was designed for the accused. 3 human security officers stood behind him, but they looked tiny in this massive space. Above them all floated the Valen Prime Counselor, a being of pure energy that crackled and shifted. Inside a shimmering bubble, the counselor's voice boomed through every translator in the chamber. Humanity. You stand accused of military buildup in violation of the Non-Aggression Compact. Your species has constructed 47 battle stations in the past decade. Your fleet has tripled in size. Explain this immediately. Thomas kept his hands behind his back. He looked calm even though his heart was racing. Around him, holographic displays showed images of Earth's military installations. Each one was highlighted in red like evidence of a crime. We are preparing, Thomas said. His voice was quiet, but it carried through the silent chamber. The chamber exploded with noise. 17,000 species worth of anger manifested at once. There were roars, clicks, buzzes, and sounds that hurt human ears. A massive insect creature the size of a shuttle clicked its mandibles in fury. Preparing for what? To wage war upon the compact. Thomas's jaw tightened. No, we are preparing to repay a debt. The Valen Prime Counselor's energy field flickered strangely. The debt to the Kethril was settled. They asked for 30 years of scientific research. You provided it. Your obligation is complete. That wasn't the debt, Thomas said quietly. That was the price we could afford to pay. The debt was something else entirely. He pressed a button on his wrist device. Behind him, an image appeared on the massive view screen. It showed Earth 75 years ago. Half the planet was on fire. Orbital defense platforms were shattered and broken. And around the dying world, alien ships with blue glowing patterns created a protective shield. The Kethril saved us when we were dying, Thomas continued. 3 billion humans are alive today because they intervened against the Vraxen swarm. They lost 4,000 of their own people protecting a species they had just met. That is the debt we remember. The giant insect representative's translator crackled. Ancient history. The matter is closed, is it? Thomas asked. He turned to face the council directly. His eyes were hard. Then perhaps you can explain why 3 weeks ago the Vraxen swarm changed course. They were heading for the uninhabited Corellia sector. Now they are heading directly for Kethril Prime. And perhaps you can explain why the Galactic Defense Fleet has been ordered to stay in position and not help them. The silence that followed was complete. You could have heard a pin drop in that massive chamber. Thomas took a step forward. His voice got harder. We know about the vote. We intercepted your communications. We know the Council decided the Kethril's resistance to the new trade agreements made them expendable. We know you are letting the Vraxen have them. The Valen Prime Counselor's field darkened. You overstep, human. The Council's decisions are not subject to your approval. We are not asking for permission, Thomas interrupted. Every security officer behind him straightened their backs. We are informing you. The human fleet leaves for Kethril space in 6 hours. Any attempt to stop us will be met with the full force of humanity's military capabilities. You would go to war with the entire Galactic Council? The insect representative hissed. You are barely a century into space travel. We have civilizations here that have ruled for 10,000 years. Thomas smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Then you should have learned by now that debts matter. And you should have remembered what happened to the last species that threatened someone under humanity's protection. He pulled up another image. It showed a star system. But the system was empty. Nothing but debris fields where planets should have been orbiting the sun. The Vraxen did this to us, Thomas said softly. They wanted to exterminate us for our resources. The Kethril stopped them that day, but the Vraxans survived and scattered and rebuilt. He looked around the chamber, meeting as many eyes as he could find. You all know what happened next. You know what we did when we found them again? You know why the Vraxan swarm, once a galactic plague, now exists in only 7 scattered clusters instead of 7,000. You know we broke them. And you know we did not do it out of revenge. We did it to make sure they could never threaten anyone again. He paused. But apparently you have all forgotten the lesson. You have forgotten that when you save a human life, you create something dangerous. You create gratitude. And human gratitude is an eternal, terrible thing. Thomas turned back to the Valen Prime Counselor. We are not here to debate. We are here to announce. The Kethril will not fall while a single human draws breath. The debt will be repaid. And anyone who stands in our way will learn why we do not forget. The transmission changed to show Earth's 47 battle stations. Each one was powering up. Their weapons were coming online in perfect coordination. Then the feed switched to show something else. Something that made the entire chamber go silent. Beyond the battle stations, in the dark spaces between stars, was the reserve fleet. It was not 3 times the size of the previous fleet. It was 30 times larger. Hundreds and hundreds of warships that nobody knew existed. The chamber descended into complete chaos. Representatives were shouting at each other. Some were demanding action. Others were calling for emergency votes. The power structure that had stood for thousands of years was cracking, right in front of everyone. In a private observation deck overlooking the assembly hall, the Kethril ambassador watched everything unfold. Her name was Nala. She was an elderly female with bioluminescent spots that flickered across her blue-gray skin. Beside her stood Commander Turk, her military attaché. He was rigid with shock. Did you know? Turk whispered. Did you know they were doing this? Nala's spots flickered with distress. No, after we fulfilled the original agreement, we thought the matter was closed. They gave us 75 years of scientific data. We assumed that was payment enough. Payment, Turk repeated. They called it payment, not repayment? Below, Thomas was being escorted from the platform. But he was not in chains. A full honor guard surrounded him. No one in the council dared treat him as a prisoner now. The display of humanity's hidden military might have changed everything. Nala's communication device beeped. It was a direct channel from Earth's diplomatic vessel. Thomas's voice came through, warm despite everything that had just happened. Ambassador Nala, I apologize for not consulting you first. But we learned of the Council's decision only recently. Time is critical. The Vraxan swarm will reach your homeworld in 72 hours. Ambassador Blake, Nala managed. Her voice translator showed the emotion beneath her words. You do not have to do this. The debt was paid. We asked for knowledge and you provided it. You owe us nothing. With respect, Ambassador, that is where you are wrong. Thomas's voice softened. You asked for knowledge because you knew it was all you could ask for. You knew humanity was barely recovering. You made the price something we could afford. But that does not change what happened. That does not change that we watched your people die protecting ours. Nala felt her spots flickering rapidly. It was like crying for her species. 4,000 lives? We lost 4,000. Every single name is recorded in our memorial stations, Thomas said. Every human child learns about the Kethril who came when no one else would. When the Council turned away sighting protocols. When everyone else weighed the cost and found us not worth saving. You came anyway. 75 years earlier, Admiral Rachel Stone stood on the bridge of the Earth defense ship Valiant and watched her world burn. Through the viewport, Earth was covered in fire. The Vraxan swarm had arrived 3 weeks ago. 1 billion bioengineered creatures, each the size of a frigate, each designed to strip planets to nothing. They moved with terrible intelligence, coordinated by a hive mind that humanity could not understand. Admiral, we have lost the Pacific Defense Grid, her tactical officer reported. His voice was hollow. That is the last one. We have no orbital coverage left. Rachel gripped the railing hard. Around Earth, the debris of humanity's defense fleet drifted in expanding clouds. 47 ships had become graves for 200,000 people. The Valiant and its sister ship, the Guardian, were all that remained. Status of the evacuation? She asked. Colony ships have launched with 800,000 people. The officer's voice cracked. It is not enough, Admiral. There are 8 billion people down there. On the main screen, a Vraxan creature attached itself to the remains of the Asian orbital platform. Its biomechanical limbs tore through metal like paper. It was feeding, converting human technology into more of itself. They are not here to conquer, Rachel said. Her voice was dead. They are here for resources. We are just raw materials to them. Her communications officer suddenly sat up straight. Admiral, we are receiving a transmission. Unknown origin, but it is using first contact protocols. Rachel's heart, which had been numb for days, suddenly began to pound. On screen, the being that appeared was unlike anything in humanity's databases. She stood roughly humanoid but with bioluminescent patterns running across blue-gray skin. Her eyes were larger than human eyes, multifaceted like an insect, but with clear intelligence. Human vessel, I am Captain Nala of the Kethral Concordat. We have been monitoring your system for 72 hours. You are facing extinction from a Vraxan swarm. We know, Rachel said bitterly. We sent distress calls to the Galactic Council 3 weeks ago. They informed us that intervention violates the non-interference compact. They will not help unless we become full members. Membership requires 2 centuries of space travel capability. We have only had it for 40 years. Nala's bioluminescent spots flickered. Rachel would later learn this meant deep anger. The Council has many rules. Most are designed to benefit the old powers. But the Kethral Concordat is not the Council. And we remember what it is like to face extinction alone. On the tactical display, new contacts suddenly appeared. Rachel's officer gasped. Admiral, we have multiple inbound signatures. Configuration unknown, but they are massive. 15, 20, 30 contacts. They are entering Earth space at high velocity. The view screen split. On one side was Captain Nala. On the other side was the fleet emerging from faster-than-light travel around the moon. The ships were beautiful with organic curves and covered in the same bioluminescent patterns as Nala's skin. And they were positioning themselves between Earth and the Vraxan swarm. Captain Nala, Rachel breathed. Why are you doing this? Because someone needs to, Nala replied simply. We have a saying among my people. A civilization is measured not by its power but by who it protects when there is no profit in protection. The Kethral fleet opened fire. The battle that followed would be burned into human memory forever. Kethral weapons tore through Vraxan bio-armor with precision that humanity's kinetic weapons could never achieve. Their ships moved with impossible grace, dancing through swarm attacks that should have overwhelmed them. But the Vraxan had numbers. And numbers had a quality all their own. Rachel watched as a Kethral destroyer took a direct hit. Its hull ruptured. Atmosphere vented in a crystalline spray. The crew had no time to escape. 300 Kethral lives ended in an instant to protect a species they had just met. All human ships close formation, Rachel ordered. We support the Kethral fleet. Target any swarm elements engaging our allies. Admiral, our weapons are barely effective, her tactical officer protested. I do not care. They are dying for us. The least we can do is die with them. The Valiant and Guardian plunged into the battle. For 6 hours, the space around Earth became a killing field. The Vraxan swarm, used to easy prey, found itself facing an enemy that refused to yield. Nala coordinated the defense with brilliant precision. She used Earth's moon as a natural fortress, channeling the swarm into kill zones where Kethral weapons could hit them hardest. On Earth's surface, something remarkable happened. Billions of humans watched the battle through every available screen. They saw aliens fighting and dying to save them. They saw a species with no obligation, no treaty, no profit motive. spending blood and treasure to protect strangers. In the bombed remains of the Pacific Defense Control Center, a civilian engineer named Thomas Blake worked frantically with his team to restore a single orbital cannon. They had been told it was impossible, that the damage was too severe, but they could see the battle overhead. They could see the Kethril ships positioning themselves between the swarm and major cities. "I do not care if it is impossible," Thomas snarled at his team. "Those people up there are dying for us. We are getting this cannon online even if we have to fire it manually." Across the planet, similar acts of desperate brilliance played out. A mathematician in Mumbai calculated firing solutions and sent them to the Kethril fleet. A salvage crew in Toronto rigged a destroyed satellite's reactor to overload, turning it into a makeshift bomb. A radio operator in Lagos, with a basic transmitter, warned the Kethril of a swarm flanking move she spotted with civilian telescopes. Humanity, facing death, fought back with everything it had. On the Kethril flagship, Captain Nala watched her casualties mount with grief but no regret. Commander Turk, younger then and burning with righteousness, reported the losses with a steady voice. "We have lost 8 ships, Captain. Crew casualties approaching 4,000. The swarm's numbers are going down, but slowly. And Earth's population centers? Intact. We have kept them away from major cities. The humans are helping where they can. Their contributions are small tactically, but—" Turk paused. His spots flickered. "They are brave, Captain. Foolishly, courageously brave." Nala watched as a human cargo ship with no weapons and no armor rammed a Vraxan creature that was trying to break through the defensive line. The ship and its crew vaporized instantly, but the creature's path changed just enough for a Kethril cruiser to get a clean shot. "They do not know how to quit," Nala said softly. "Even when they should. Remember this, Turk. Remember how they fight when everything is lost." The battle reached its peak as the swarm began to withdraw. The hive mind had calculated that victory was too costly. Kethril ships pursued them, making sure they would not return. Of the billion creatures that attacked Earth, barely 10 million survived to flee into deep space. When the last Vraxan signature vanished from sensors, a strange silence fell over Earth space. Humanity had survived. Barely but definitely, Rachel opened a channel to the Kethril flagship. "Captain Nala, I do not have words." Nala's image appeared. Her spots were dim with exhaustion. "Words are unnecessary, Admiral. But there is something you should know. The Galactic Council monitored this battle. They will have questions. What will you tell them?" "The truth. That we saw a species worth saving." Nala paused. "Admiral Stone, humanity will face a choice now. The galaxy will want something from you in exchange for our aid. How you respond will define your future." Rachel looked at her surviving crew, at the planet below where billions had been saved, at the debris field where Kethril heroes floated among human ones. "What would you advise?" "Give them what they ask for," Nala said. "But remember what you truly owe. Remember the difference between price and debt. We saved you today, but I suspect, Admiral, that someday you will save us. Every human alive will remember this moment," Rachel promised. Director Anna Hayes sat in the secure briefing room deep beneath Geneva and watched intelligence reports scroll across holographic displays with growing horror. Beside her, Fleet Admiral Rachel Stone, older now with silver hair but still sharp eyes, leaned forward intently. "Confirm this," Rachel demanded. "Confirm it again." Intelligence Officer Nina Brooks, pale and clearly shaken, nodded. "It is confirmed, Admiral. We have intercepted and decrypted communications between 5 Council senior members. The vote was 12,847 in favor, 4,153 against. The Galactic Defense Fleet has been ordered to maintain position." The Vraxan swarm's trajectory change was not accidental. Anna felt cold despite the comfortable room temperature. They herded them. The Council deliberately adjusted containment fields to redirect the swarm toward Kethril space. "Why?" Rachel's voice was deadly quiet. Nina pulled up another file. "The Kethril have been blocking the Unified Commerce Initiative for 3 years. The initiative would standardize all trade agreements, effectively giving the Council complete economic control. 27 species have resisted, but the Kethril are the most influential. If they fall, the resistance collapses. So the Council is engineering genocide for trade regulations? Anna could not keep the disgust from her voice. Not just regulations, Director. Control, with unified commerce under Council authority. They could impose sanctions on any system that steps out of line. It would be the end of species sovereignty. Rachel stood. Her chair scraped back. And the Kethril are in the way. The Kethril have been protecting dozens of smaller species from exploitative trade agreements. They have created an alternative economic network based on mutual aid. The Council sees them as a threat to stability, which means a threat to their power. Anna pulled up the Vraxin swarm trajectory. 72 hours until it reached Kethril Prime. The Kethril fleet was substantial, but not designed for this scale of assault. They had spent 75 years as peacekeepers, not warriors. This was an extinction event. What are our options? Anna asked. Rachel's expression was carved from stone. Officially? None. We are bound by compact agreements. Unauthorized military action would be grounds for sanctions, possibly war. Earth would be cut off from all trade networks. We would be alone. And unofficially? Unofficially, Director, I have 47 battle stations that have been waiting 75 years for this moment. I have a reserve fleet that even our own government does not know the full extent of. And I have 3 million personnel who learned about the burning sky before they learned to read. Rachel's eyes gleamed. But I need political authorization. Anna looked at the holographic display showing Kethril Prime. A beautiful world of blue oceans and green continents, home to 4 billion souls. He thought of Ambassador Nala, who had spent decades fostering friendship between their species. He thought of the memorial stations in orbit around Earth, each bearing the names of 4,000 heroes. If we do nothing, Anna said slowly, we save Earth's position in the galactic order. We maintain our trade agreements. We continue to prosper within the system. Yes, Rachel confirmed, and if we intervene, we declare ourselves enemies of the established order. We risk everything we have built over 75 years. Rachel paused, but we honor the debt. Anna reached out and activated the secure command channel. Authorization code Hayes Alpha 7. I need an emergency session of the Security Council. We have a situation that requires immediate action. 3 hours later, in a session so secret that even the location was classified, Earth's leadership gathered. Prime Minister James Carter listened to the briefing with an expression that grew more severe with each passing minute. Let me be clear, he said when Rachel finished. You want to deploy our entire military force to defend a species against a threat that the Galactic Council has decided not to address? You are suggesting we commit an act that could be interpreted as rebellion. That is correct, Prime Minister, Rachel said without hesitation. And the consequences? We could face economic isolation, military confrontation, and the destruction of everything we have achieved diplomatically. Or, Rachel's expression softened slightly, or we could show the galaxy that there is an alternative. That power does not have to mean exploitation. That debts of honor matter. That humanity stands for something beyond our own survival. One of the council members shook his head. This is insane. We are talking about throwing away decades of careful diplomacy. For 4,000 lives, Anna interrupted quietly. That is what they paid for us. How many humans are alive today because of that sacrifice? 3 billion? 4 billion? Every one of them owes their existence to the Kethril. We paid that debt, the member insisted. 30 years of research. That was the price, Prime Minister Carter said softly. Director Hayes is right. There is a difference. Price is what you pay for a transaction. Debt is what you owe when someone saves your life, knowing they might lose their own. He looked around the room. I was 15 when the Vraxin came. I watched the battle from my family's building. I watched Kethril ships burn protecting my city. He stood. We have spent 75 years preparing for this moment. Every treaty we signed had exit clauses. Every military innovation we kept secret. Every alternative trade network we helped establish. It was all building toward this. Prime Minister, the cost of helping will be high, Carter agreed. But the cost of abandoning the Kethril will be higher. It will cost us our humanity. And it will cost us the one thing we have built that the Council can never take away, our reputation as a species that honors its debts. He looked at Rachel. Admiral, you have your authorization. Deploy the fleet? Repay the debt? Rachel saluted. Understood, Prime Minister. 12 hours later, Ambassador Thomas Blake stood before the Galactic Council and made the announcement that would shatter the order of thousands of years, but on Kethril Prime. In her office overlooking the capital city, Ambassador Nala received the message from Earth. Her spots flickered through emotions that had no names. Hope. She opened a channel to High Command. Prepare defensive positions. Coordinate with Human Fleet Command. Get every citizen into shelters. Ambassador, her aide asked nervously, is Earth really coming? Nala thought of Admiral Stone on the bridge of the Valiant, battered and outmatched, but never retreating. She thought of 75 years of messages always ending the same way. We remember. Yes, Nala said with certainty. They are coming. Admiral Rachel Stone stood on the bridge of the Earth defense. Ship Retribution and watched reality tear open before them. The jump to Kethril space should have been impossible. Faster than light travel required careful calculations and coordination with galactic traffic control. What humanity was doing violated every protocol. 300 ships emerged from hyperspace at once, appearing in perfect formation around Kethril Prime. It was a maneuver that required computational power the Council did not think humanity possessed. All ships report successful transition, Commander Lisa Morgan announced from Tactical. 0 casualties. Admiral, we just executed a synchronized fleet jump that the Council considers impossible. Rachel allowed herself a thin smile. They are about to learn that human physics is very different. Status of the Vraxen swarm? 18 hours out from Kethril Prime. Numbers are reading 800 million units. This is not a swarm, Admiral. This is a planetary extinction force. The bridge crew absorbed that in silence. 800 million. Nearly as many as had attacked Earth. And the Council Defense Fleet? Holding position exactly as ordered. 300 ships with the firepower to stop this attack, sitting 12 light years away. Lisa's voice dripped contempt. Their choice, Rachel said coldly. Broadcast to all ships, weapons free in 18 hours. I want a channel to Ambassador Nala. The Kethril ambassador's image appeared. Rachel could see the strain on her features. Behind her, through the window, Kethril Prime's cities glittered peacefully. Admiral Stone, Nala said. Her voice was thick with emotion. You came. Did you think we would not? Rachel asked gently. The Council is threatening sanctions. Trade embargoes. Military action against Earth. You are risking everything. We are honoring everything, Rachel corrected. Ambassador, my tactical team will coordinate with your defense forces. The Vraxen are going to hit hard, but they are about to discover that humans have spent 75 years studying how to kill them. Nala's spots flickered. 75 years preparing for this? We have been preparing to repay the debt, Rachel said. After you saved us, we reverse-engineered every Vraxen corpse we could recover. We studied their tactics, their biology, their hive-mind communication. We built weapons designed to exploit their weaknesses. Every officer in our fleet trained in swarm warfare. She pulled up a holographic display showing humanity's battle plan. The Vraxen think in numbers. They overwhelm through mass. But they have a fatal flaw. The hive nodes that coordinate attacks can be identified and targeted. Take out enough nodes and the swarm becomes stupid, uncoordinated. Easy prey. You have fought them since, Nala realized. The reports of Vraxen activity declining, that was you. That was us. We hunted them. We broke them. We scattered them. And now they have made the mistake of threatening someone under humanity's protection. Rachel's expression hardened. They will not survive the mistake. On Kethro Prime's surface, General Turk coordinated with his human counterpart, General Patricia White. Your ships are unlike anything in our databases, Turk observed. These are not exploration vessels. These are dedicated warships. Patricia nodded. We did not tell anyone what we were really building. The Council saw research stations and thought we were studying space. They saw industrial complexes and thought we were making civilian goods. We let them think whatever kept them comfortable. While we built an armada, the Council will never forgive this. Deception. The Council can join the long list of entities whose forgiveness we do not need. Patricia highlighted positions on the tactical map. Your orbital platforms are well positioned but configured for conventional fleets. The Vraxen do not care about shields. We are deploying resonance mines throughout the system. When they activate, they will disrupt the biological electric fields the Vraxen use for coordination. Turk's spots brightened with understanding. You are going to attack their ability to think collectively. We are going to turn 800 million units into 800 million confused individuals. Then we are going to kill them systematically. Patricia's expression was ice. General, your people saved Earth when we faced this exact threat. We studied that battle for 7 decades. Every mistake we made, every weakness we showed, we learned from it all. This time, they are the ones who will be surprised. The hours ticked down. Across Kethro Prime, 4 billion civilians sheltered underground. The Kethro fleet, 80 ships built for peacekeeping, took position alongside humanity's 300 warships. And in the darkness beyond the system, other ships arrived. Admiral, Lisa called out sharply. We are detecting new contacts. Multiple groups. It is the Terra Collective, and the Pixen Union, and the Draen Accord. They are broadcasting support codes. Rachel felt satisfaction mixed with vindication. How many ships? Current count is 170. Admiral, these are the species we have aided over the past decades. They are here to help. On the view screen, messages began appearing. Terra Collective stands with Earth. You helped us during the famine. We will not forget. Pixen Union honored to fight alongside humanity in Kethro. Draen. Accord recognizes true alliance. Rachel broadcast to all friendly vessels. All ships, this is Admiral Stone. Your presence here means everything. Together, we are going to show the Council that power is not measured in old treaties. It is measured in the willingness to stand for what is right. 4 light-years away, aboard the Council Defense Fleet flagship, Commander Zell watched the tactical displays with growing unease. His mandibles clicked rapidly. How many ships now? He demanded. 470 total, Commander. Humans, Kethro, and 17 other species. They are forming a defensive grid that is extraordinary. Every ship is positioned to provide overlapping fire support. There are no gaps. Zell transmitted to the Valen Prime Counselor. Inform them that the situation has evolved. Request instructions. The response came quickly. Commander Zell, you are ordered to maintain position. Do not engage. But Counselor, there are 17 species now openly defying the Council. You have your orders. The transmission ended. Around him, his crew worked in tense silence. Many were young, recruited after the Great Peace. They had never faced real combat, but they had all heard stories of the burning sky. They had all learned about the species that refused to accept extinction. And they were watching as those same humans positioned themselves to face impossible odds again, this time for someone else. Commander, his executive officer said quietly, what do we do? Zell looked at the tactical display, at the Vraxen swarm approaching, at the human fleet preparing for battle. We follow orders, he said finally. But we watch. Because I suspect this battle is going to teach the galaxy something important. At the 15-hour mark, Ambassador Thomas Blake stood before an emergency council session. You asked us to stand down, Thomas said. You ordered us to maintain peace. You threatened sanctions. He paused. We decline. He pulled up imagery of the burning sky. 75 years ago, the Council voted to let humanity die. You cited protocols. You calculated costs and found us not worth saving. The chamber stirred. One species disagreed. The Kethril lost 4,000 people protecting strangers. They risked everything to do what was right. Thomas's expression hardened. Now you are doing it again. You have aimed an extinction-level threat at the Kethril because they are inconvenient. So you ordered your fleet to stand down. He looked into the camera. The Council has taught us that rules matter more than lives. That convenience matters more than gratitude. Thank you for that lesson, because it has freed us from any obligation to follow your example. The transmission ended in Kethril space, with 12 hours until the swarm's arrival. Rachel gathered her fleet commanders. We trained for this, she told them. For 75 years, everything has been building toward this moment. The Vraxen think they are facing prey. They are about to learn they are facing predators. She smiled. When they arrive, let them close. Let them think they have us surrounded. And then we show the galaxy why you do not threaten humanity's friends. The Vraxen swarm hit the edge of Kethril. System space like a living wave of death. 800 million biomechanical creatures, each the size of a frigate driven by collective intelligence. They had consumed worlds and devastated civilizations for thousands of years. They knew nothing but hunger. They had never faced humanity at full strength on the bridge of the Retribution. Admiral Rachel Stone watched the swarm approach with the calm of someone who had waited 75 years for this moment. Distance? She asked quietly. 3 million kilometers enclosing, Commander Lisa reported. They are moving in standard surrounding formation. They want to make sure nothing escapes. Good, Rachel said. That is exactly what we predicted. Activate the resonance grid. Across the Kethril system, 3,000 mines hummed to life. They did not explode. Instead, they generated a harmonic frequency tuned to disrupt the bioelectric fields that Vraxen used for hive mind communication. The effect was immediate and devastating. 800 million units suddenly found themselves thinking independently. The perfect coordination dissolved into chaos. Creatures collided with each other. Trajectory calculations failed. Formations collapsed. Now, Rachel ordered 470 ships open fire at once. Human weapons were different from standard galactic ones. Where other species used energy beams, humanity had developed biological disruptors. Weapons that targeted the Vraxen's unique hybrid nature, causing cascade failures. The first wave of fire cut through the confused swarm like a blade through paper. Vraxen creatures tumbled through space, their systems shutting down, their bodies reverting to inert matter on the Kethril flagship. Ambassador Nala watched in awe as human ships moved through the battle with deadly precision. They did not brawl. They hunted. They identified hive-node creatures and eliminated them with surgical strikes. Then they swept through the resulting chaos with methodical efficiency. I have never seen anything like this, General Turk breathed. They are not fighting a battle. They are conducting an extermination. They studied the Vraxen for 7 decades, Nala said softly. They learned everything. And they did it all for this moment. For us, a Vraxen cluster managed to organize enough to attack a human destroyer. The ship absorbed the impact, then rammed directly into the cluster at full speed. The creatures shattered against armor that should not have existed. Every ship they built was designed for war, Turk realized, and they hid it in plain sight. Human fighters swarmed through the Vraxen formations. Each carried pilots trained in swarm combat. They moved in coordinated groups, herding Vraxen into kill zones where larger ships could destroy them 4 light-years away. Commander Zell watched the battle on sensors. His mandibles had stopped clicking. He simply stared. Commander, his sensor officer said, voice shaking, the Vraxen are being systematically destroyed. The human fleet is not defending. They are advancing. They are pushing through 800 million units. Casualties? Zell asked. Vraxan casualties approaching 200 million in the first hour. Human and allied casualties. 3 ships. 3 out of 470. The command deck fell silent. Every officer understood what they were witnessing. Humanity was not just defending. They were sending a message. Zell's communications officer looked up. "Sir, transmission from the human fleet. On all frequencies." "Play it," Zell ordered. Admiral Stone's voice filled the bridge, cold and absolute. "This is Admiral Rachel Stone to any Council vessels monitoring. You wanted to know what humanity would do when you abandoned our allies. Here is your answer." On the display, the human fleet shifted formation, driving directly into the heart of the swarm. The Kethril saved us when no one else would. So here is what we give them in return: safety, security, and the knowledge that humanity does not forget its debts or abandon its friends. The human fleet carved through the swarm. Behind them, Kethril and allied ships followed. The Vraxan, unable to coordinate, died by the millions. To anyone listening, understand this: Earth will honor its debts. Earth will protect its allies. And anyone who threatens those under our protection will face this. Stone paused. "We are done playing by rules written to keep us weak. We are writing our own rules now." The transmission ended on Earth in the command center beneath Geneva. Director Anna Hayes watched with Prime Minister James Carter. "The Council is going to respond," someone said quietly. "Let them," Carter replied. "They are watching humanity destroy a threat they claimed was impossible to stop. They are watching their calculations revealed as obsolete." He turned to Anna. "Status of our diplomatic initiatives?" 43 more species have reached out since the battle began, Anna reported. They want alternative trade agreements, alternative defense pacts. They are calling it the Alliance of Honor. "The Council is fracturing," Carter said with satisfaction. "For thousands of years, they maintained order through fear. Now we are showing there is an alternative. Fight for your friends. Honor your debts." Back in Kethril space, the battle reached hour 6. The Vraxan swarm, reduced to less than half, attempted one last assault. Throwing everything at Kethril Prime, they broke against humanity's wall. The human fleet had positioned itself in a perfect sphere around the planet. Every approach was covered. Every gap was a trap. The Vraxan came with fury, and humanity met them with 7 decades of calculated vengeance on the retribution. Rachel watched the last major cluster approach. "How many shots left in the primary weapon?" "1 full discharge, Admiral. After that, 4-hour cooldown." Rachel smiled. "1 is all we need. Fire." The primary weapon was humanity's most guarded secret. A 0-point energy cannon that could tear rifts in space-time itself. The weapon fired. Reality screamed. Space folded. 50,000 Vraxan creatures simply ceased to exist. In the silence that followed, the remaining Vraxan fled. They scattered in all directions, driven only by survival instinct. Human fighters pursued them. By hour 7, the last Vraxan signature had vanished. The Battle of Kethril Prime was over. Rachel broadcast to all ships. "Cease fire. Begin rescue operations." When Nala's image appeared, Rachel was struck by the emotion on her face. "Admiral, you did it. You saved us." "We repaid a debt," Rachel corrected gently. "But this is not over. The Council will respond." "Then you will need allies," Nala said firmly. "The Kethril Concordat requests an alliance with Earth and all species who participated. A real alliance, not a treaty of convenience." "The Alliance of Honor," Rachel said, "if you will have us." "Ambassador, you saved us when we were dying." "We saved you when you were threatened. I think it is past time we made it official. We stand together, always." Over the next hours, as rescue operations continued, something remarkable happened. Species after species broadcast support for the Alliance of Honor, not in council chambers but directly to each other, government to government. Within a day, 47 species had signed the charter. Within a week, 90-3. The Galactic Council called an emergency session. Ambassador Thomas Blake stood before them. But this time he was not alone. 93 ambassadors stood with him. The Valen Prime Councilor's energy field crackled with fury. You have violated the compact. You have defied council authority. We saved 4 billion lives, Thomas replied calmly. Lives that the council decided were acceptable losses. We honored a debt you could not acknowledge. And we did it without asking permission because your authority only exists as long as we agree to recognize it. You speak of rebellion, the insect representative hissed. We speak of choice, Thomas corrected. For thousands of years, the council maintained order through one principle: power flows from the center and compliance is mandatory. You made it clear that lives are collateral damage when they conflict with your goals. The 93 species with me have chosen differently. Loyalty, gratitude, and mutual protection matter more than centralized authority. He gestured around. The Alliance of Honor is not a rebellion. It is an alternative. We are not trying to destroy the council. We are choosing not to be bound by it. You cannot stand against us, the counselor declared. We just destroyed 800 million Vraxen in 7 hours with fewer than 50 ships lost. Are you certain you want to test us? Silence. Thomas let it stretch. 75 years ago, one species saved humanity because it was right. That single act has led to this moment. The Kethril showed us that power without principle is tyranny. So here we are, 93 species who have decided to remember. He turned to leave. The Vraxen clusters that escaped? We are hunting them. All of them. Not because the council asked. Not because there is profit. But because it is right. Because that is what allies do. Because that is what the Kethril taught us. He walked out, 93 ambassadors following. The council would continue, but its absolute authority was broken. The galaxy would split, creating a balance that would shape politics for centuries. But in that moment, one thing was clear: humanity had repaid its debt on the retribution orbiting Kethril Prime. Rachel stood at the viewport with Nala. Your people are calling you saviors, Nala said softly. Please do not, Rachel said gently. We were not saving you. We were honoring you. There is a difference, is there? Yes, Savin.